Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the Doug Show. My name's Doug Cunnington, and today I'm going to talk about a few various topics, including AI recipes, like cooking recipes. And I'll also talk a little bit about maybe the food blogging world and recipes by bloggers in the past. I will try to remember that no one wants to listen to someone else complain, even if it's a little bit funny. But by the way, I don't have any jokes planned or any kind of humor, so I think it'll just sound like complaining. I'll talk about some other stuff and tell some stories, but I'll have to remember, keep this positive. No one wants to listen to you complain. And I'll talk about other random stuff too, including a show I recently went to and a book that I'm reading. And I guess I can give you a little update on my reading physical books and trying to read more. There was an episode a few weeks, months ago. I don't remember exactly. And I was like, you know what? I like reading physical books. I'm going to try to do more of that. I made a commitment to you. I made a commitment to myself to read more, and I'm still in the first fucking book. All right. I didn't do as much as I thought, but I did finish this book called Food for Thought by Alton Brown, Essays and Ruminations. And it's very good. I really like Alton Brown. He has been in many shows on the Food Network. The one that I discovered him on was Good Eats. And that is a great show. I think I'm going to go back and watch from the beginning. I think there were maybe 16 seasons, and I watched maybe the first. It could be anywhere from like 5 to 9 seasons or so. And then I kind of dropped off towards the end. And then I think he had a bit of a reboot where he redid some recipes from like the very first season. And I watched, I think, the 10 episodes or 13 episodes that he published there. But anyway, good book. I haven't been reading books like I said I was going to, but like someone promising to be on a diet, I'm like, you know what? I am going to start. I'm going to start next week. It's coming right up. It's just going to be, all I have to do is do what I said. But this time, I think I'm serious. This time it's for real. And I'll talk maybe a little bit about that. So we're going to be going all over the place. I'm also going to talk about something that is maybe a little timely or not timely by the time you hear this, and undoubtedly probably won't be relevant in the future, but it's going to be a very small segment. And it's just something that has been on my mind a little bit. And the thing is, you don't know when I'm recording this, except that I'm going to tell you it's just April 15th, 2025. So a little while ago, I got pretty far ahead on the schedule because I was taking time off and traveled a pretty huge amount from like mid-February until yesterday. I've been home a lot too, but like it's been like resting, getting ready for another thing. So like actually there's been a lot of travel overall. So just couple things on my mind as well. So the main thing was the AI recipes. And the thing is, I do recommend this book. We could put a link in the description. I think it was like a immediate New York Times bestseller. Alton Brown has a lot of, like I said, he's been on the Food Network for like 20 plus years, and he's been on a bunch of those competition shows, which I actually didn't like. And I think that's when he maybe got even more popular because people love those fucking shows and they're like, all right, start cooking some food. All right, let's just change everything and not give you enough time and not give you enough ingredients and then see what happens. And I'm like, what are we doing? So anyway, Good Eats though, solid show. He basically put together like Julia Child, Monty Python, and Mr. Wizard. Great combo. So there's humor, there's some science in there, there's the cooking part, and I have been a huge fan of Alton. He has this essay in here about kind of AI coming for his job as really a, recipe writer. And I mean, he does a lot of stuff. He's an author and all that stuff. But basically, he put in some random ingredients. He had a system to do it. So it was sort of an ingredient randomizer, put it into AI and said, you know what? I don't know what prompt to put in there. Why don't we put in the style of Alton Brown? And it came up with kind of just a weird recipe that doesn't make sense. There's an example in the book. And the thing is, my wife and I recently saw him, actually just the other day. It was why we were out of town. We went to a nearby town here called Greeley. It's about an hour away, like in the opposite direction of Denver. We usually see shows in Denver, but we were like, let's check out Greeley. Let's see what it's like up there. It was fine. Great show. And he actually did a little demo of one of the crazy recipes because he got a handful of recipes, and it was, I can't remember the exact stuff, but it would be the equivalent of like taking broccoli, like mixing it with chocolate, and then putting it in pasta, and then putting it into like a Jello mold and with gelatin, and then you have some sort of weird chocolate broccoli gelatin situation. And it's just weird. It's like, what are we even, like, what is this? This is a horrible idea. Nothing makes sense. It won't taste good. These flavors don't go together very well, broccoli and chocolate. We don't see that. We don't see that out there. I don't think that's the thing that we want to do. So anyway, he makes a good point there. And I mean, some people have tried to use them. I've actually not really paid attention. I don't use recipes verbatim most of the time. I usually will read through, make some amendments, make sure, let's say I'm making a mole or something like that. I'll make sure I have like the main point or the main spices and things that I need to have that are signature for mole of the region that I'm trying to make, blah, blah, blah. So I'll do research, but typically I don't follow the recipe straight up. So that's a little unusual, I think, for maybe like newer cooks, but let's move on from that. Basically, I've never used like AI for a recipe, and I would have potentially I would not follow it exactly because I don't usually follow recipes exactly unless I'm trying to like dial something in. And the other part of it is I kind of stopped looking at recipes written by bloggers. Part of the issue is, I guess, the industry that I worked in for a few years, and probably many of you dabbled in, with websites and niche sites. And basically, unfortunately, I put out all this content about how to write content, and some people applied that to recipes, and they didn't have the culinary chops or time or desire to test the recipes. So I'm not saying you have to be an experienced cook or chef or have any kind of advanced learning or even classes at your like local community center or whatever. Nothing like that. You could be awesome from, learning from your family or trial and error or watching TV like I did. I basically just watched TV shows for years since I was a kid. Like I remember watching like PBS and like, who's the Cajun guy? Justin, I'll think of it later. Anyway, so since I was a kid, I remember watching cooking shows. So I had like a lot of visual experience, I guess, just watching and then listening and learning. Eventually I got cookbooks and just like trial and error, many horrible dishes. But over time, I like developed some intuition. All that to say, I eventually figured out that like a lot of the recipes that are out there just fucking suck. Like, I don't even know if the person made the food at all and tested it, because I was like, this doesn't even make sense. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. and this is off. So over and over again, I was running into that, and I'm like, man, I'm looking on my phone. I'm trying to find a recipe. I gotta search everywhere. And then I also discover that there's all these fucking videos popping up. Now I hear myself complaining, but there's all the videos popping up. I'm reading something and then some other thing slides in there and moves everything. And I'm reading about someone's like long story about something that's obviously made up. We don't need all the backstory and we don't care about it. So you end up with that. I've complained about this before. So I never loved looking up the blog type recipes in the last, say, 10 years. Now I do remember reading other blogs years ago. One that comes to mind is the 5-minute per day bread recipe. So wonderful set of books now, but it was a great blog and you can read about how they came up with the idea. There's actually a real story behind it. And now they actually have books. So I've actually checked out those books and we're going to end up coming full circle, right? So I am not going to use AI recipe builders and I'm probably not going to read blogs. Next episode, I'm going to talk about some disappointing search results on Google where, I'm just trying to find information and I'm having a really hard time. I'm having a really hard time, a little frustrated, and that's the next episode, but I wanted to give you a little teaser. Different topic. I'll complain about something else. Don't worry. So we're at a point where I'm not looking at those other two sources. Now I have had, or I do have, for many years, I have recipe books and I have several of Alton Brown's books. I think this is the 10th one that he's published. And I have maybe 5 of the others. I'm missing a handful of them out there, but I'm going back to Alton Brown recipes. I'm going to America's Test Kitchen where they do test stuff and they actually do have like culinary degrees. They know what the fuck they're talking about. And again, they're actually testing stuff. Now you can't go, YouTube is a great source. That's much tougher to fake, especially they're literally like cooking the food, but you get a pretty good idea of sort of the qualifications by the way the person's talking. And again, I've watched a lot of great YouTubers who they didn't go to culinary school. They're home cooks, they're experienced, they're good teachers, or maybe even better, they're good entertainers. So they kind of hook you. And yeah, everything's not perfect, but they're making food and they're enjoying it. And that's great. I love that. So I think more people will be going in this direction or going to good sources. Like I said, America's Test Kitchen, probably most of the people on like the Food Network, they do test those recipes. And like, it is important, if a recipe book comes out or if you go grab one from the library is great, folks. You can go check out books and they have ebook versions, but there's these print versions, which are awesome, which are really good to use if you are looking for recipes and stuff. So, you could go and basically never run out of recipes or books to go through. I know at our library here in Longmont, I'm trying to think, at least 2 or 3, I think there might be 2 or 3 rows, maybe 2 rows if you count front and back, of just cookbooks. All different cuisines, different focuses. It's great. I would never, like, through the whole rest of my life, I wouldn't be able to go through all the books, right? So if you pick a couple of them for specific recipes, that's great. And highly recommend the book that I mentioned here, Food for Thought, or other Alton Brown books. If you want recommendations, let me know. I think he even, because my wife actually really enjoyed the show, I've forced her to watch a couple short segments of Good Eats in the past. And I think have recommended that she, check out specific recipes. Like she made pineapple upside down cake. And I was like, Alton Brown has a great recipe. Why don't you check that one out? She literally made it. It was awesome. And she did a great job. Now, the cool thing with the show, we splurged. This is so unusual. We pretty much never do this. We often get like discount tickets or something like that. We're frugal at heart, so it's tough for us to spend more. But I don't really care about celebrity. Even the bands that I really like, I'm like, do I want to go to that show? Like I've seen a lot of the bands that I really like in the past already many years ago in their prime. So now I'm like, do I want to make the drive? Like, do I really want to do that? The tickets, parking, all the things that we can make excuses about I assume other people make these excuses while they're getting older. But we got the VIP tickets. So that means we got to go in early. We actually got signed copies of the book. So I already bought the book, but I actually have one signed right here, which is cool. And my wife got one too. But VIP. So we got to go in early for a Q&A session. And I'm trying to think, there might've been 50 people. I'm not 100% sure, maybe around 50. We were right in the front row. We got like some pretty good seats. And like I said, Alton Brown is like one of the few people where I'm like, I would want to do the Q&A. The funny thing is I didn't even have a question. I thought about asking him something about writing. And my wife, for some reason, was like building this up weeks ago. She was like, what are you going to ask him? You got to come up with a good question. And it was like, I was trying to brainstorm and different stuff. And I'm like, my podcasting interview brain, I had some like harder questions, which maybe you could squeeze those in, but it's like usually a really good question has like kind of a longer answer, and he keeps it moving. Super relatable, very cool, very polite, seemed really appreciative. The show was hilarious. Highly recommended if people are interested in checking it out. So the topic around e-com is kind of related to tariffs and other volatility that we're seeing in this time frame here. So if this is years in the future or even months ahead of time, you know how things turned out. My hunch is everything's fine, but the volatility is a little tough to deal with. Before I hit that, I do want to mention Performance Lab here. So I use the multivitamin. I have this here, and I have been using their MindLab Pro product. That's a nootropic for a while now. And I first got hooked up, a listener viewer of this channel. They were like, hey, I work over at MindLab Pro. You want to check out some of the product? And I was like, yeah, sure. This stuff is awesome and highly recommend it. So the nootropic, it's one of the ones that I use often. So I would recommend it if people want to check it out. I'm an affiliate, so I get a commission if you do sign up, but they have a full range. And like I said, I get the multivitamin here for men. And then I think they must have for women as well. And then you have the MindLab Pro, which is the nootropic. They have some other stuff too. So check out whatever you want. They have great bundles, and we'll link up so that you can check it out. So back to kind of the potential e-com issues, which I have no skin in the game directly, but I could get impacted because I recently set up my Printify drop shipping and then linked it up to, and technically it's Printify drop shipping because someone else is handling that portion and the fulfillment, but I have my Etsy store, and currently I just have like a couple things in there. It's mostly set up for my other podcast, Mile High Fi, because a lot of people were like, hey, I want to buy a t-shirt. I have a handful that I was giving out at a conference recently, but some people want some of the like tech material, like the dry fit wicking stuff so they could work out, or just maybe they're hot and sweaty people like me and they want something a little bit cooler and not cotton, which is fine. So anyway, I set that up. I'll put some of my other, I guess, print on demand worthy things over there as well. But anyway, and I'll link up so you can check it out. I'll put some of my photos and whatnot over there. But I have been observing from afar, even though I don't look at the news and try not to pay attention, the volatility in the markets, the bond market, and just all the tariff type hijinks, they've been going on. And whether you agree or disagree, the volatility is tough to deal with. And from a, investing perspective, this is not advice. Nothing that I'm saying is advice. This is all just entertainment. But I mean, we're investors, and we're investors in equities and a small amount of bonds. And we see the volatility. However, we're long-term investors. So like volatility is part of the game. So we know this happens. We know that every few years you're going to have a recession. Every like a little bit longer, every 10 years or so, you're going to have like some fairly large anomaly. And you could look back and kind of see that. You don't know what it is. You won't know what it is. You don't know when it's coming up, but it's coming up. And if you have a long enough time horizon to access that money, then you're probably just fine most of the time. And if you have a really robust like portfolio and a really robust plan, then you have accounted for short-term recessions, or every few years you're going to have some major issue where the markets might be down for several years. So that is something that happens. And again, we have a short time frame of whatever 100-ish years where we could see, and that's not very much of a time frame, by the way. There's only a handful of recessions that you could actually look at. I don't know the exact number. It's like 8 or something. So we have like a decent time frame. It feels like a long time, but it's really not that much. We don't have that many samples to look at. So anyway, the volatility is crazy. But with the tariff madness going on, basically, I wonder how e-com is going to figure this out, because they don't know how to plan. They don't know if they should buy a lot now. I'm on an email list for a guitar manufacturer called Orangewood. I don't have any of their guitars, but they made a good push for sort of a direct-to-consumer model, and the guitars are made overseas. I think they show up in California, and they set up and do a lot of sort of the fine tuning, the final touches and finishing of the guitar before they send it out. So reasonable quality and materials and all that stuff, but they set it up here in the US, and it's a little bit closer to when people are going to get it. So basically, like, it could be finished in a, high level, and it's only going from like California to wherever, right? So anyway, very reasonable price, but I got an email and they were like, hey, we ordered a bunch of stuff. Prices are probably going to go up. If you want to buy something, now's a great time to get it, because like prices are going to go up. We're monitoring. We don't know much. And a lot of companies are getting ahead. And I'm sure they're telling, like, other companies are telling their retail locations that are not direct to consumer, these companies that aren't direct to consumer, and they have a guitar shop here in town that needs to order stuff. They're like, order a bunch of stuff now. We're going to be raising prices. So I don't know how all that's going to play out, but looking at sort of like other people that shifted from niche sites over to e-commerce or drop shipping, or maybe they have products on Amazon, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, it's very volatile. I have no advice for people. So not helpful, just an observation. And I think the companies that are able, that I guess were planning ahead for downturns or volatility, or essentially just like a rainy day in the future, some companies are able to keep more cash, have higher cash flow situations, depending on their margins and a number of other factors. But the fact is, a lot of e-commerce shops, or if you're doing like drop shipping, for example, some of the business models sort of required you to run ads. So drop shipping is a great example. Not everything, and I've never really done drop shipping. Talked to a lot of people that have, but basically it's like you run ads, you sell the product, you have a margin. It's a little bit smaller, especially if you're not handling any of the fulfillment and a lot of those other details. Your margins are much smaller because you're outsourcing other services and portions of the whole process. So at the end of the day, you're floating that ad spend until you get paid by the drop shipping fulfillment company or whatever they're called. And essentially you end up in a situation where like you just spent a bunch of money on ads, your margins are only like 11%, and then your cost of goods are going to be going up. So it's like you could be in a situation where like you go out of business because you can't make your cash flow. And hopefully, I mean, in the beginning, I could see, companies running like that because like they haven't built up the reserves and like they're fine tuning things. But most businesses, and hopefully not too many retail businesses, but I mean, that is the reality. If you're in a place where the rent's pretty expensive, your margins could be pretty small. And then you're in a situation where you're like, oh, we cannot make the cash flow and we don't have like reserves for the volatility. So like I said, I'll keep this as a shorter portion, but I hope it works out for people. And if you have stories, if you're doing drop shipping or other physical good situations where like materials are coming from overseas in some capacity, let me know. How's it going for you? What are you seeing? Are you having your prices go up? And like I said, it could potentially impact the Etsy store that I have, because at the end of the day, I mean, the print on demand stuff is happening in the US. It's printed there, but I don't know. I mean, I assume the raw goods are coming from somewhere else, probably China. I don't know. Probably China in most cases, not always. And then if you trace some of the other supply chain, like it may not come, like the materials may be put together in somewhere in the US and then goes to the print on demand place. But like the original origin of the t-shirt material and the raw cotton might be coming from somewhere else. So it's like, if you trace it down, it's like, if we don't have the raw materials here, like it's coming from somewhere else, obviously. So anyway, we'll see how it plays out. So as we summarize here, check out MindLab Pro. If you use the AI recipe putter togethers, let me know about that too. How does it go? Are you able to make the food that the AI recipe generator spits out? If you have a food blog, are you one of the people that is publishing these horrible recipes? Not you. You're better than that, right? But if you are, because I know, I mean, people were like, you know what? We have AI. Let's see what we can do. And I'll shout out to Shauna Newman. I'm on her newsletter, and I skim all the emails. I'm going to mess up some details, but basically she has been highlighting some AI recipe sites and like other bloggers that were really, in air quotes, putting together recipes. I dislike them all. All right. I'll just be upfront. I'll put a blanket statement out there. I know some people are actually like making the food. I interviewed, I forget her name. I think her name was Sarah, but she lives locally-ish in the Denver area, but she has like a food science degree. Like, so there's some people with the qualifications that are blogging. That's legit. They test the recipes. That's cool. For the people that are just like publishing mass quantities, not cool. I was not loving that. And I mean, it's a race to the bottom. This is going to go nowhere. Other people will be frustrated and they're just going to be like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go to a trusted source. Like I went to King Arthur's Flour, right? So it's like they have a line of products. I buy those products. They have good recipes. They have like cookbooks and stuff. So they have good recipes on there because they want you to buy more of their flour, and they're testing it. They're doing a good job. And if they want you to buy more flour, they're just getting to the point as well. So they're not telling these long narratives. that I don't care about. It's like just what you need to know, maybe a little bit more, but it's interesting. And then they have the recipe and no ads. So those are the places where I am looking. And next episode, I'll complain about bad Google results, but I'll talk about guitars. I've been getting more into continually deeper into the guitar world, but I've been getting like, these are like fret polishers, and then I have like a crowning file. So I've actually like been like buying some like pretty specialized different products and stuff like that. And looking up information has been a little bit tough. So again, hopefully this didn't come off too complainy. Little complaining, I know it did. Next episode, a little more of the same. Maybe I'll play a tune or something like that. I got a new guitar. It's really cool. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks for checking this out. And be sure to email me the stuff I asked if you're observing this stuff with AI recipes, if you've published AI recipes in bulk. And then finally, if you're in the e-com world, drop shipping, physical products in any way, how are the tariffs impacting you so far? And or how are you planning to deal with everything? So thanks a lot. We'll catch you on the next episode.